Hey everybody, welcome to another Friday 10 Ton Talks. We are excited. We've had been getting back into the saddle here, had a couple shows in a row here now, and we're liking it. We've got another good show. We kind of mentioned last week when we were talking about competitive gaming a lot that we had a guest coming on that you guys would be pretty interested in seeing. So that's what's going to happen today. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jeremy, and he can let you guys know what the show's about and introduce our guest here while I get us set up. And it would help if I didn't have you muted. Okay, there you go. Sorry.
All right.
We always got to have one technical goof at some point. You're good. Okay.
Well, it's good to get it right out of the way.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, we're pretty excited about today's show. Before we get into it, I will start with our. Well, I'll say mandatory, but I mean mandatory just because we say it is. But again, we are here because of 10 Ton Hammer. So if you do like the content, we do hope to provide you with an awesome show today. Please check out 10tonhammer.com. Alex and I both have our content on there. A bunch of guides, features, news, all sorts of different gaming stuff. And without them, we wouldn't be here. So please check them out, support the site. Now that that is out of the way, let's get into the good stuff. We are here today with Zubu's community director, and I'm sure he's going to correct me as soon as I mispronounce his name, but Charles Bethel is here with us today, and so we're going to grab him on the stream, and yeah, we're very excited. I said we did talk about a lot about esports last week, and it's going to be good to get a new perspective in with us. So Charles, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I will say that's close enough to my name. It's a fairly good trick to be able to spot telemarketers when they mispronounce. So yeah, no, you did close enough. You would have fooled me. Anyways, no, things are pretty good. It's I'm working from home this Friday, so that's explaining the less than officey look of the environment that I'm in right now. But it's things are pretty good. So yeah.
Very nice. All right, so for our guests who aren't necessarily familiar with you specifically, give us a little, background on you, how you got to where you are, and what you're doing for Zubu.
So I about 3 months ago, I left my 10-year career at Logitech to join the Zubu. I started off literally at Logitech answering the phones for technical support. I worked my way up, and then I eventually reached a point where I looked at the gaming team and I said, that's what I want to do. The gaming team at that point, we got a new CEO that had a new vision for how to handle gaming at Logitech, and basically started rebuilding the gaming team. And I was, I think, the 5th person on the team. We had some of the core people there. Our engineers and stuff like that or the Logitech engineers have been around for a long time and stuff like that. But the people that were the core behind the products, there's a couple of the key people from way back in the day, but it got down pretty low. So he started rebuilding it and, reaching out to social, figuring out ways to reach out to the community. And so I helped over from customer support because I had the most experience of being, wrist deep in the community of anyone. And within 6 months, was managing the Facebook page, handling pro team sponsorships, and just having a good time working hard with Logitech. And I did 3 years on the gaming team, and then this opportunity for Zubu popped up, and I was like, this actually looks like something really cool. Like, I want to get in streaming, and there's a lot of good I can do here. So, and here I am.
Very nice. Awesome. All right, so we do have a few topics we want to discuss with you today. Before we do, just want to let our viewers know, and we'll probably pop it in chat from time to time to remind them. If you do have any questions for us or for Charles throughout the show, definitely put them in chat. We'll grab them as we can. We will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the stream. So we'll, grab pretty much everything we can then. But in the meantime, just throughout the discussions, if there's anything we feel is, super relevant, we'll grab it from the chat as well. All right, so the first thing, and I think the most obvious topic to talk about, obviously when you think about streaming, we think about esports, kind of go hand in hand. So I want to talk a little bit, about the current state of esports, because obviously, it's continued to grow over time, and I feel like we're probably, at an all-time high with things just appearing to continue to grow. So, kind of want to give us some insight from your end, on the current state of esports, where we are with streaming, because obviously we're seeing now, people who are kind of making a living off of streaming, which A, I think is very cool, but B, talk a little bit about, if this is a sustainable thing, and kind of where we are now and what the future might hold a little bit, from the perspective of someone, working in that industry.
Yeah. Sorry for the cough there. Actually, yeah. Not only making a living, I do know some of these top talent are make enough that make me quite jealous, and I will say that. But that being said, it's esports has gone through like an absolute insane meteoric rise. It's just been crazy. I mean, if you go and look, if you can go find pictures on the internet of the first season of League of Legends World Finals at DreamHack, where literally one of the pro players is standing up there wearing a jacket and no shirt underneath, like, and they all look kind of disheveled. And the top prize was $100,000, which, don't get me wrong, is gigantic, or was gigantic for the time. It's You look at just what happened from there to season 2, where all of a sudden they're taking the Galen Center at USC, and then all of a sudden Staples, and then Korea for last year, and then it's just the growth has been insane, and it's a really exciting time to be involved with esports right now, because there's two things that are going on. One, it's starting to be legitimized. We're starting to see schools offer sponsorships for sports competition. We're starting to see bars actually hosting esports nights, which has actually been really, I know the guy that does Showdown Esports in San Francisco, and it's one of the best nights for that bar, that they have a gaming night and an esports night at that bar. Yes. And then what we've also seen is, I think this is important. I mean, no disrespect to my League playing friends and my friends over at Riot, but we're also seeing a diversification of esports. It's no longer just MOBAs being the key thing. I mean, FPS was where it started off, and then it went to real-time strategy. They never really hit as big as League of Legends did, but I mean, with how CSGO has been going recently, and with how Hearthstone has been going recently, we're seeing a diversification, so more people can enter in and play and enjoy. We have more opportunities for people to rise up and become the next star through both being the most talented person possible and being the most engaging talent on the stream possible. But we're also seeing just this enthusiasm for it. People are accepting. People are no longer just going, "Oh yeah, I watch League, I don't watch anything else." The number of people at Azubu that will watch Hearthstone stream, and then watch a League stream, and then watch the CSGO stream, and be as engaged and knowledgeable in all three, it helps turn esports into a sports lifestyle. It's no longer just, "Oh hey, I watch some baseball games here and there." It's like, no, you're a fan, you have your teams, and we're starting to see what probably took 80 years, 50 years in North America happening in 4 years, of esports becoming teams recognizable and people wearing jerseys out in public, and it's a great time right now.
It's pretty crazy. I find it really interesting. Like, I'm a fan of traditional sports, football and everything. It's really cool to see how back when I played Counter-Strike several years ago, way back in high school, I kind of goofed around with friends, and we tried to set up like a team for tournaments, but we never really took it all that seriously. But now you see all these people from not just MOBAs like you said, but other games, and they've got these teams, and instead of just being like some random team, you've got official logos now, and you've got social media and all this stuff, and it's it's legitimizing itself in a really crazy way, and you're starting to get that not I guess branding is the best way to say it, branding, and teams are iconic, and they have personality. It's getting pretty interesting to watch how all that stuff that you would expect from a mainstream sport is finally finding its way into the gaming scene, which is pretty cool, and watching it take fire as it has over the last few years is pretty exciting. So I don't know, I just thought that was interesting, that all the logos and stuff go. I don't know if you have, do you have any insight into Azubu's branding or anything, or have they talked to you about what type of, as a social media manager, what type of image they want you guys to represent?
So that's actually, there's about 4 questions in there that we can dig apart, and we can have fun with individually. I did have a side topic that you brought up that I did want to actually highlight, that I felt was actually really important, was that you mentioned teams coming up and it's a sport. There's all the, people are starting to, the jerseys. People are starting to rep their own groups, and they're building their own presence. And people are starting to become entrepreneurs on the gaming level. I'd like to also take a little bit further that one of the great things about esports and streaming and the gaming scene right now is that it's a totally democratic society. It's a meritocratic society, if I pronounce words correctly there. Because the thing is that you can get 5 kids where the barrier to entry, and this sounds terrible, I don't mean to dismiss, but it's like say you have 5 17-year-old guys that their barrier to entry is a $500 laptop, and with the $500 laptop and it's the time and the talent, these guys within 6 months could get themselves to a major Dota event, could get themselves to a major CSGO event, or could get themselves into the Challenger League of LCS if they're competitive and they're good enough. And you don't require a baseball diamond to practice. You don't require television to get broadcasted out and get your fans. It's all about being good, communicating with the fans, being present as a team, and working together, and you can really go far. So anyways, back on the topic of branding. I think branding is actually really important. I have a presentation I'm working on right now on the whole company thing, because branding is something Logitech's very big into. I've been involved with, I caught the tail end of some of the branding, and some of it, I will admit, that there was another project that I didn't like. So we actually sat down, we started talking, what does Azubu mean? I have some big theories about brand. It's a weird amorphous term to put out there, but what it is that a brand means 2 things. One, it's not just the appearance, it's not just the logo, it's not just the look. You got to have the logo, it's got to look good, the colors have got to look good, the presentation, everything's got to look good, but the brand means something else too. A brand is a promise to somebody that what you're going to do is represented by this logo. I can use some key examples. The big ones would actually be, to use the giant ones, would be Apple and Disney. Disney's got the little Mickey ears, but you tell somebody, oh hey, it's like, hey cousin, come over, you can sit on the couch, and you tell your brother or sister or whatever relative is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have the kid watch a New Line Cinema movie, and everyone's gonna go, well, what New Line Cinema movie? Because there's a whole bunch, like, that's not saying New Line Cinema is not a major brand, but they're a whole wide array of movies. But if you tell, oh yeah, I'm going to show, my cousin a Disney movie, everyone's like, oh, okay, that's age appropriate. They understand there's going to be a good story behind it. It's going to be entertaining. And it's all about that when the brand gets presented, there's an understanding that, oh, hey, this is what the brand's going to be. So what I want to work with at Azubu is that we have a look, we have some colors. I'm actually not wearing the shirt right now because I thought it'd be a little cheesy. I have my Azubu shirt from a couple of the trade shows. But what it is that I want to turn the Azubu promise not from a thing of... the best way to put this would be, I want when people come to Azubu that they see, oh, hey, this is a place where people can stream, people are going to have fun, and it's all about gaming, it's all about competitive play, it's about esports, and it's about being able to get themselves out there. I want Azubu to become, if I had my magical way, and I can get everything to happen just right, and I hope I can, I want Azubu to be a breeding ground for the next generation of esports players. I want Azubu to be a breeding ground for the next level of competitive players worldwide. I want people to come to Azubu to watch new talent. I want Azubu to broadcast their talent. I want people to be discovered on Azubu so they can then become the talent they were born to be.
So it's a really good point, and I think actually in a bit I really actually do want to drill down into that, because I do want to talk about what Azubu is doing. Before we do, let's talk a bit about. So we talked about our current state right now of esports and streaming. What does Azubu see as the future? Because with things like this, there's always the question of, okay, it's really good right now, but is it sustainable? Is it something that we're still going to see 5 years from now, 10 years from now? How can that grow? So not only from the standpoint of one company, but just as a whole, what is kind of the vision that we kind of see for the advancement in the future of esports, and specifically the streaming aspect of it?
So I see a couple aspects of it. One, I see the broader diversification of games. We're going to see, I mean, right now we have a lot of games that are, League of Legends and CSGO. But there are games taking off in other parts of the world that are actually very important. Like Russia and Europe is big on World of Tanks, but World of Tanks is not so big here. And I think where I want to take that topic, and that's is that I think there's going to be a more global initiative in the next couple of years, because right now we have a nice, the first world countries and the well developed countries. There's a plethora of good computers that are relatively cheap. It's PCs aren't inexpensive to play games, but most people, if they decide that they want a gaming PC and decide they want a gaming mouse and gaming headset, and they decide that they want to buy a game or buy the packs for a game, it's not a life impacting event to make that decision. And we have a lot of places in the world where that's not so easy right now. But as these areas of the world grow more affluent, and as the gaming expands there and more games pick up in that region, we're going to see, actually, I think esports and competitive play become much more global than it is right now, because we see, when we think of competitive play, we commonly think of three regions, which is Korea, China, the AP region, North America, and Europe. Those are the regions where they have consistent leagues set up by Riot and things like that. I think what we're going to see, and we're starting to see it in Brazil, we're starting to see this in Turkey, starting to see this in Vietnam, where these countries are there as their populace becomes more affluent and gets more cash, and they get more. There's gaming becomes more prevalent. We're going to see a broader, a more global game going on, and we may see star countries where 5 years from now people are not going to be talking about EU versus NA versus Korea. They're going to be talking Vietnam versus Brazil, and that could be where the future is going to go. So I think one of the big things that we need to look at is for competitive gaming is to think about it on a global scale and think about how people around the world are going to start picking up this game to play. And also, I think what we need to do in the broad sense is be accepting and open and watch for these games to come out, because I'll admit this is an actual experience I had where I was not open and accepting of a game, and it sounds crazy, but back when I first played League of Legends, I didn't like it. I really didn't. And what happened is that I ended up playing it for a while, and I was like, oh, this is okay. Then I finally started understanding it. I started watching pro players play it, and then this is beginning of season 1, end of season 2. Or end of season 1, beginning of season 2. And I started watching League of Legends, and I'm like, oh, I kind of think I get how to play this game, because I was an FPS player before that. And as I kind of kept an open mind about the whole thing, I learned to appreciate this new game that is now the largest competitive game type in the world, when you look at all the MOBAs that are out there. So I think what we're going to see a global expansion. And the big thing we're going to see is we're going to see new game types, and we're going to see new ways to play the game and new regions. And I think the esports community and streaming will benefit a lot from keeping an open mind and contributing to these regions becoming competitive on the global scene.
Before we totally get off this topic, I've always thought, it was something League just this year, migrating their servers from the West Coast over to Chicago to centralize things for the bandwidth. I've always seen competitive online gaming, like one of the things that it's really been handheld, tied to is bandwidth through, having stable bandwidth and having stuff. Do you feel like, I don't know, I feel like over the last, we've seen exponential growth in this in esports, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I feel like the way the actual, technological network has been expanding so rapidly in the United States and some of these developing countries has played a lot of role in that as well. I'm kind of wondering, if the initiatives in the other places in the world, if you feel like maybe they'll be held back because of technology and how long it's taking to get the infrastructure in those places, or, if it'll be tied to that, and how much do you think that can limit the growth if, say, this gets really popular, and people are going to be wanting it and not being able to participate, being an issue?
So I can speak with a weird angle of experience on this that not many people get, but I think this directly addresses this point. Um, no more than I'd say 6 or 8 months ago, back when I was at Logitech, I had a very unique opportunity, which is I hosted the detonation team from Japan to practice and scrim at the Logitech office in California. And this was Japan's top League of Legends team. They had won their place in the their wild card placement to compete in the midseason invitational. What ended up happening is these guys come over. We have them set up. We get PC set up. The guys get down. They start playing, and they ran into a very interesting problem. They were missing their skill shots because they went from 160 millisecond ping to 23 millisecond ping. And so they actually had to learn how to address how to play these games with the different ping and with the different speed, because we're talking at like a tenth of a second delta here in like the actual competitive play, or greater than. So what it is yes, for our demands for high quality play and competitive play, yeah, you may not see people in developing areas and these being able to enjoy the 20 to 50 millisecond ping that we think is the bare minimum standard around here. But the Korean scene, not the Korean, the Japanese scene was competing on this 150, 120, 160 millisecond ping, and they were able to grow it up to the point where now Riot has put servers in Japan. It's what it is that people want to game. Gaming is I think gaming, and this is me getting philosophical here, but gaming is one of the most basic things we have. Gaming is all about competition and becoming better. That's what gaming is. You don't play a game to win easy. You play a game to challenge yourself and become better. That's at gaming at its core essence. And as people play the game, they're going to experience it as best they can in their region, and they're going to still get addicted, and they're still going to enjoy it, and they're still going to play it, and they're still going to compete. And as the region evolves to be able to accept these lower ping demands and higher bandwidth acceptances of the public and stuff like that, you're going to start to see their scene shift, and they're going to become more and more competitive on the international scene. As it stands within the area, as long as everyone has an equal playing field, they can compete. So I do want to see the future where everyone can compete on the broad scale. But I think that the key thing is just making sure people have access and the capability to play these games in the region themselves, and the ability to perform on a broad audience. I'm going to throw my Azubu plug in, but one of the things that we do is that we actually have, we call them global ingress points. Basically, all around the world, people can stream to Azubu and actually send data feeds pretty much within their local country or within the local sphere. So that's one of the reasons we've had great success in, I mentioned Vietnam and Brazil, is that we're able to get the streams to our encoder quicker, which means the latency between the stream and the person watching is much lower for around the world to a broader group of people. And then also the nice thing is that it's the quality. We see that a lot, that people are really like the quality of, because how we just then distribute the packets back out. That's my obligatory Azubu flag waving there. But that's where I think it'll go.
I think that's actually okay that you bring that up, because one of the things that we started to get to a little bit earlier, and what I do want to ask is, obviously the streaming market is taking shape. We mentioned earlier how there's people making a decent amount of money, there's people making a lot of money for the really successful ones. But when we talk about it, usually people they associate streaming with specifically Twitch. Yeah. So as we've seen, sometimes getting into a market where one brand is just so much better known for everything. I mean, we saw how easy it was for Google Plus to be successful, and Facebook was already being used. It can sometimes be difficult to to really break that perception and to get people to understand there might be other options. So I think one of the main things we want to ask about is when people almost just instinctively associate streaming with Twitch, and not, as a thing that can be done on multiple platforms. How does the Zubu kind of internally, tackle that? Because I'm sure there's kind of discussions about, how do we make people understand that, Twitch isn't the only one? And then B, what is Zubu, providing to, say, their streamers that will make them a more appealing option than, another service?
Well, so I think one thing, and this is me maybe getting a little amusing here, but it's we still talk about online streaming as streaming, and I think that's important because if I say the words Jello or Band-Aid or iPhone to a lot of people, they know exactly one specific item. I actually have I'm not wearing it right now, but I actually have an LG G watch. I have an Android watch, and everyone looks at it, even though it has a round screen, they look at it and go, "Oh, is that an Apple Watch?"
Right.
And it's people talk about online streaming, and it's not. Oh, it's they don't like. Oh, I twitched today.
Right.
That's people talk about they stream. So I think there's still some space within the understanding of what you're doing is that it's not become a verb yet, which is actually that's the turning point that I would actually be scared about. But no, what it is this is probably the best way to put it. We don't watch one TV channel. We don't go to one website, though most of us probably spend about half our online time on Reddit. There's space for somebody that focuses on competitive play, that focuses on being a place where people can be discovered. And I don't want to share too much of where I want to go, but there's some cool visions on where we're going to take Azubu that I don't want to completely let the cat out of the bag on. But
Sure.
I want to find more ways for people to become engaged with esports and more ways for people to be a part of the esports experience. Because this is one thing we discovered with one of our events, is that esports is not just the pro players. There's also, there's a broad array of people that can hop in and enjoy the esports experience. And people, you can be a caster, you can be the person that helps make the art behind these streams. And I want to find a way to help make these people more included into the esports experience. But beyond that, it's to get back on the concept of, how setting your name aside is basically I want to make sure more people around the world can experience our service. I want to make sure that our service is as good as possible to the most amount of people we can make it. And I'd say another kind of big thing is that I want to just make the experience as good as possible for both the people that are watching the stream as well as the people that are streaming. Because a couple of things that we're doing, we're trying to think about how to do things differently. One of the things is, so say you hop on Azubu today. This is a big one, by the way. If you know the history of Azubu, up until about 2 months ago, you couldn't hop on stream. The only people that could stream were people that were signed to talent from various pro teams. We opened up the service, which is, I'm glad that was done. I think it was actually overdue. But what we've also done is we've opened up some things. Like we do actually have customer support for the streamers 24/7 in multiple languages. So say you hopped on and started streaming, and it doesn't matter if you're in Eastern Europe or if you're in Latin America or you're in Korea, you can find support. And as we have English, Korean, and Portuguese right now, we can expand as we get more people in more regions. But you can hop on and talk to a support agent and get your stream back up and running if you run into any issues, or help with setting it up in the first place. We have documentation to drive people to explain, okay, this is how you start setting up the stream, this is how you this is how you get up and running. The big thing, though, and I want to expand the documentation from there, and I haven't figured out quite the right way to do it, is I want to find ways to help people become better streamers, because often people think, oh, I'm going to hop on and I'm going to stream a little bit, and then I'll get some fans and it'll be cool. And the most successful streamers actually became really successful through working hard and doing a lot of self-promotion and networking and driving people to interact with the stream. And so that's another thing that I want to think about in the future. I have some plans on that I'm not ready to drop yet on a live stream. But I want to find ways to help the new people that have the talent reach the fans in the way and give them the training and the tools they need to, instead of having to have them go and figure it out, run seminars and things like that for people to come in and figure out how we can help them reach their fans better and get more fans. Because honestly, the more people that watch them, the better we are. The better we are, then the more people we have on the service to watch them. It becomes this nice positive feedback cycle that I really want to encourage.
A friend of another show that I'm on, he actually started a group called the OP group, which is kind of like online professional group, and that's kind of one of their angles, is taking, they have a few experienced streamers and stuff like that provide that type of knowledge and stuff, and it's something that they just started this past year, I think, and it hasn't really, they haven't really gained traction yet, but it's interesting that, esports and, well, not esports, streaming in particular is getting so, successful and so commonplace that, these auxiliary, support services are going to start springing up. So it's pretty interesting. I just thought I'd throw that out there because you mentioned it's like another place that I've seen it happen, and I expect with how things are going to see more of these things kind of popping up as more people are seeking, different services like this. So
yeah, well, it's a couple years back. I got a wind of a group being formed, and immensely long story short, that group is now TESPA, which helps college groups get more engaged with esports programs. And then there's high school league, and these are starting to pop up, and the support groups to help people figure out, give people the support talent that this OP group is also trying to do as well. And so I think the thing is also, I want to see if I can use my experience with working with pro teams at Logitech to help guide people here at Azubu on how to do, or how to recreate the success that people like TSM Cloud9 had, because they're social juggernauts, they're fan juggernauts. They have people go and have birthday cakes made with Cloud9 logos and get TSM tattoos. I mean, this is true sports fandom right here. And then, but I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I worked with these guys on some of their social outreach and some of these activations, some of these things. And so I want to be able to, at Azubu, work with people and start driving people to go, okay, this is how you start building. And as I'm going to bring that brand word up again, this is how you start bringing up your personal brand. This is how you develop your promise to the fans that come and watch you, that they're going to get good gameplay, that they're going to get a fun interaction, they're going to learn something new, and that they have a reason to come back and watch you again and get their friends to watch too. So that's where I see the future of streaming esports and going, especially from the Zubu side, is finding ways to help foster this up.
Very nice. I'm gonna ask you a quick question. I'm curious on your opinion on, and then I'll kind of use your answer to segue into our next topic. So my question is this: as of right now, if we look at viewership numbers, and let's just say, I don't know, Hearthstone on Twitch, for example, we'll see, let's say Trump, for example, with 30,000 viewers. Then we'll see someone else with 10,000. And then after that, if assuming there's no major event going on, we'll see someone with 500 and someone with 200, and then 50 and 30 and 10. It seems to, like, as we've talked about, there's people that can make a living off of it, but as of right now, it seems very, very top heavy, and that you have your few usually established pros, but even some of the pros can't approach the numbers, and I have of some others. And again, this probably comes largely back to branding and all that. But my question is, right now, for each game, you probably have a few streamers that will always be doing very, very well for themselves, and then you have a ton of people, some of which are known, some of which aren't, who struggle maybe to even get to triple digits on their viewer count. So my question is, you don't have to get into details of exactly how it'll happen, but do you see a future where maybe, I mean, it's never going to be where everybody, has 10,000 viewers at the same time, obviously, but do you see a future where maybe it becomes a bit easier for people to start building up their viewer count, and, maybe it isn't just 3 people that are able to be successful with it?
So that is actually the elephant in the room of online streaming and any sort of content production on the web, that you have the juggernauts who their popularity causes them to become more popular, and it becomes their feedback cycle is so darn loud that they unintentionally drown out other people. It's not because Trump is a bad guy. I've met him. He's actually a really, really nice dude. I have a funny side story on him. I'm going to digress briefly. I had
Please.
the most Trump moment you could have possibly seen, where I was having dinner. This is the best way to explain it. If you watch Trump, you know his brain is insanely analytical. It's
Sure.
just the way it works. And so we're actually at dinner, and they bring out some shrimp sushi, the boiled shrimp on the sushi, and he picks it up, and he proceeds to look at and it's like a 10-second little thing, but I'm watching him, and he proceeds to then look at every aspect of the sushi. He looks at it, holding it with both hands. He nods, is like, okay, now I fully understand it, and then eats the sushi. It was just the most Trump moment I've ever experienced in my life. It was just, you saw the analysis the brain was going through. Anyways, I digress. What it is there's streamers, the popular streamers are going to get the most numbers, and they get more money from obviously having more people watching them. And so what they have to do they would either have to not stream to have that, and then promote them to go look at other people's streams, to share that viewership and spread it around, which causes them to lose money, or they are going to have to like host people on streams and find ways to promote other content. And we're starting to see that, where streamers are starting to like promote more people around the industry, but it's still the very top floats at the very top, and there's a whole bunch of people that are there interacting. And it's not necessarily as much growth for them. That said, it is possible for new talent to really rise up. I'd say right now on Twitch, it's probably rather tough right now, because there's simply so many talent, and the top tier talent has been there for so long, and they're so embedded, and they have so many follows on the streams already, so many subscribers, that the number of times a new talent comes up and then just absolutely just swarms up to the top and starts hitting 5 figures in terms of CCUs is not as frequent as it should be, in my opinion. I can't say with absolute confidence I have all the plans to fix it and make sure that everything on Azubu is awesome, so that everyone rises up and like there's a broader diversification. But that is actually one of the main things that I really have been putting a lot of thought into, because there are a lot of people that are really talented, and they need guidance, and they need to know how to draw these people in, and then they have to figure out how to get their critical mass, and then to capitalize on the critical mass to get the most amount of fans. It's not a simple problem, but we have seen it. I mean, I remember when Lyric was getting 2,000 CCUs, because that was the time that I sent him like $10,000 worth of Logitech hardware, and I said, here's some sponsorship support, give it out, I basically told him, here's a bunch of hardware, take it, use it, enjoy it, give it out, become more popular. And now he pushes like 35, 40, which is kind of crazy. And I've just worked with a couple streamers that way, where it's just like, let me actually take this topic. I think this might actually work right. So one of the things that I did when I was doing a lot of smaller streamer support was that I found people that I felt were doing something really interesting that approached when I worked at Logitech, approached the brand that I wanted to represent. And I wanted a brand at Logitech that was intelligent, self-confident, pushed the barriers a little bit, found new ways to do things, And one of the first people I supported just randomly with a hardware drop was the Pixie, I believe that was her screen name, who played Dark Souls using one of her steering wheels. Which, if you played Dark Souls, you could only imagine how difficult it is. And she went through and beat the game on this. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to send you some hardware. Then I started finding people that I felt aligned with what I wanted to do at Logitech, and I promoted them. I wanted them to grow big because I felt these are the people I want to be associated with. So maybe that is one thing that people can think about when they start streaming, and when they start trying to reach a broader audience and start engage with more fans, is they think about what do they want to do? What is their goal? What do they want to achieve when it comes to who they're going to reach? and then find a way to promote along those lines, because eventually you can, either through them finding you or you finding them, find sponsors or people that are willing to support you. You still find people. It's even if you pull 100 to 250 constant CCUs, then okay, you can reach out and say, hey, can I do this? And sometimes it doesn't hurt to ask. I've literally been at PAX and had people come up and say, hey, can I get a mouse? I stream and I'd like to rep you guys. I'd be like, okay, here you go. You know what? Give it a try. Oh, you like it? Cool. Have any questions about it? Then, here's my card. Shoot me an email when you stream. I'll watch it and make sure you're doing a good job. And these opportunities maybe is a good way for people to grow their CCUs and grow their viewership, is to think about what is their personal brand and what is it that they can do that reflects this. What is it they can do better than anyone else? And then do their show around it. And I think that might be a way that I would recommend people to think about when they want to grow their CCUs. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I said I was going to segue, but I feel like you probably mostly answered the question already. But obviously, without getting into too much that you can't talk about yet due to future plans. Like the initial question, was pretty much centered around new streamers, helping them to build that audience. So let's take it from this perspective. Let's say I'll just say me, for example. Let's say right now I have a 0 viewership audience, but let's say I'm really good at whatever game, or good enough, and I have an idea. Okay, here's how I can make my personality stick out. But if I start streaming right now, I'm gonna have 0 viewers, right? That's just the way it starts. So I guess the question is there something that new streamers need to know that maybe isn't obvious? Is there something that the platform, whether it be Twitch, Zubu, whatever, can do to help those types of streamers if, like you said, they are bringing something, not just some guy sitting in a chair playing a game silently because nobody cares about that, but something that if they could bring something but nobody knows they exist, is there something that they should know, or that or a company can do to help them out with that?
That is actually a very good question. It's one of the things that my social media manager and I, this is one of the programs I can share actually, that what we're going to do is that on a weekly basis, or more often, we're going to test it weekly first, we're going to be finding new streamers that we think have a lot of talent on Azubu that are streaming. They stream consistently, and what we want to do is promote them on our social. Put 100, 150,000 or more, depending on which social network, or push from other social networks and use our partners to get a broad reach to help these people and kickstart their career. Because the thing is that it's all about who sees your stream and likes it and decides to come back the second time. Because once you have somebody coming back a second time, then they come back a third time, and then they watch. And then there's a couple things that I'd like to elaborate that helps this happen. Say you stream on Azubu and you're not one of the featured streamers for that week, and we're not able to give you the initial boost. There's a couple things that I recommend. One, believe it or not, family and friends, when you're starting off streaming, is a perfectly acceptable way to start getting people to watch your stream and share it about. When I would stream, it's like my friends would hop on and we turned into a social hour. And then what would happen is every once in a while one of their friends would hop in because the link got shared. And you start pushing up. And then once you hit about 20 CCUs, you're like, wow, this is kind of cool. I got a whole friend conversation going on here. We're playing the game together. I'm playing the game. We're all being fun. Every once in a while they shit talk on me, but and then every once in a while I show them up and I do something they can't do, and it's fun. It's turning into a social event. And if you can capitalize on this initial friends coming in, being fun, being good to watch, engaging the people that are chatting in the stream, which I am actually, there's a whole bunch of discussion going on the side screen over here, but I'm not looking at it because I'm looking at the camera. So this is bad stream etiquette right now, I'll admit, to completely ignore the chat. It's something you should never do. You engage, you bring them up, you chat, and then you bring them in, you make them, and then, every once in a while, who cares if it's a bad decision, but you say if you're playing Rust, or you're playing, Daisy or something like that, and it's like, should I really go for this? And then, put it to the vote for your friends and family and whoever people have hopped in randomly in the stream to vote for, and tell you what to do. Engage, draw them in, give them a reason to feel they're invested within your stream, And then what'll end up happening is go, this is kind of fun, and I'll come back. The big thing is also not to get discouraged. There's very few people skyrocket to the absolute top very quickly. It's not an easy thing to become one of the top streamers. It takes dedication and time. I mean, look at Lyric. He's been going at it for years. Lethal Frag did 2 years of streaming, like at least I think 4 hours every single day, without a break. Sickness, health, no vacation. He literally every night streamed for 2 years. And that does also follow up on another important thing. So if you want to get big in streaming, streaming is a business, and you will have to treat it as such. I would say be regular, be consistent, be polite, keep a schedule. The schedule is one of the most critical things you can do, because people build a routine and they start to think about, oh, this is what's going to happen. During the pre-show, we were talking about my wife and I are addicted. One of the games we play that are not on PC right now is Destiny. And every Friday morning we wake up and we power on the PlayStation to find out what this one rare equipment vendor is going to sell that week. And it's become so much in our routine that if I don't power on the PlayStation Friday morning to find out what is for sale, I feel weird throughout the day. Or sometimes I'll send a text to my wife telling her to log in and buy me a piece of gear. So what it is that humans are creatures of habit, and if you build a habit for both yourself and your viewers to watch and engage with on the stream, you're going to get more people, and they're going to come on, and they're going to want to watch your stream and engage with you, and you'll see those numbers grow. And just keep at it. It's just, if you hop on stream and you go from 1 to 3 CCU, you're doing something good if it's your first stream. If you go for 2 weeks and you go from 3 to 10 CCU, you know what? You're actually on the right path. It's as I said, it's like gaming, and it's a challenge. And part of playing game is about dedication and getting better. So as you stream, do better, and do better. And force yourself to do better, and you could be the next star.
Awesome. I think it's really good insight. Appreciate that. So we'll keep going on the topic a little bit. I do want to make sure Baby Ken and others do not feel ignored in the chat. We're going to open it up to you guys a little bit. If you guys have any questions, any of the topics we've covered, or just anything you want to ask Charles, anything can be esports related, streaming, Azubu specific, anything at all, definitely want to open it up. Any and all questions we will be taking throughout it. So we'll keep going for a little bit. But you guys have anything at all, please feel free to pop it in the chat. We will make sure to pick up your question.
And Baby Cannon, I'm no longer ignoring the chat. I am sorry.
Oh, she's just typical like that. She likes to mess with us. She's just under your skin right now.
Okay, she's one of those. No, it's usually when I see the phrase esports ball, I immediately know that this is gonna go. I mean, no insult. My old social media manager at Logitech was the same way. Said esports ball. I'm like, oh god! As soon as you say that, you know you're gonna start trying to pick a fight with me. No. Oh, there we go. There's a heart.
There.
But it's let's see. Hey, good natured trolls are the best, definitely. It's the Azubu office definitely does have its fair share. Thankfully, pranks are not too bad. It's the worst is I have a person that I used to know that was deathly afraid of spiders. So whenever they would leave the computer unlocked, they would get a bunch of spiders all over the computer screen in JPEG form or desktop form, or if left logged into Facebook form. Yeah, that's not good.
So I'll kick things off. I have an interesting question, I think. So you're managing community for Azubu. What is something about your job that you haven't seen or experienced at any other job? What's something that just like totally is like, I would never be doing this somewhere else? Just something that totally makes it different.
So I would say, Azubu still functions like a startup. It's a very small, tight-knit group. Well, when I say small, it's like 50 people. It's a tight-knit group of people. What it is it's a company that's driven by passion, and it's driven by a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of figuring out how to do things. The difficulty is we need to figure out how to do things very quickly because our competitors have had years of lead time on us. And right now we finally kind of figure out where we want to be and where we want to go. So we have not a lot of time to do a lot of awesome. But for Gamescom, for example, we wanted, so I'm a big fan of when I do something, putting the most amount of money towards the fans. So at Gamescom, I put nearly all the budget into the booth and the swag, because those are the two things people are going to get to see. At Gamescom, we had a booth set up where people could hop on stage, play a 5v5 ARAM with other players. We did ARAM just for time so we can get the most people through, with 2 fan shoutcasters. And if you shoutcasted, you're guaranteed to play on stage the next round. So we actually had just like a little mini LCS sort of thing going on of ARAM with shoutcasters and people yelling in German, having fun. But the trick was, and then we brought over Origin, the LCS team, and they actually got to play with fans. We split up the teams, so one like Xpeke versus Soaz as the captains of the respective ARAM teams, and then people got to play ARAMs, and they got shirts and stuff, and so we put the whole money on the experience, and then we ran into a bit of an issue that, at most other companies, like, I would have, you get hotels for the entire team, and everyone has their own hotel room and that sort of thing. And I kind of did burn through all the budget. So we actually rented an Airbnb for the entire Azubu team that was there. So we would we'd wake up in the morning, we'd all go to the show together. If you've done Gamescom, it's 11 hours. Like pretty much, it gets up to 11 hours a day of show. So, and people were working really hard. And there was actually like a designated nap area in our booth where people could go and take naps just so they could survive through the day. But we'd go, and then afterwards we'd go out, we'd go find some German food, have some German beers, and then get some food, and then walk back to our hostel. Not a hostel, but it felt like a hostel with the communality of it. But get back to the Airbnb, and we'd all sit in the living room. We'd drink a beer. We'd have an informal post-mortem chatting about things. We'd pull up LCS streams. We'd start watching them before going to bed. And it felt like a bunch of friends working together trying to do something awesome. It felt like even though at the show we had this big booth and, lights and flashiness and a screen that was taller than anyone, and we had pro teams coming in and playing with players and the Zubu logos and people on stage yelling and all that fun stuff. And at night, it was kind of like a bunch of people got back, cracked open a couple beers, and chatted about what they did, what they can do better, what was exciting about the day, what we learned from the day, and then also talk about games and strategy and gameplay and what we saw and everything that was exciting. Go to bed, wake up, repeat, and go back out. And it was a really cool experience doing that. It is also it's a generally informal company. I share a double wide queued with the director of art. So me and the art director, we throw memes back and forth at each other. We have some jokes. We kick each other's chairs. So I'm a bit of a Transformers fan. I don't know if this is breaking protocol, but I'm gonna rotate the camera here just a little bit.
Sure.
But right here, so that's the original movie poster from 1986. That is actually from a theater. I'm kind of a crazy, but that's Metroplex actually wearing my Gamescom badge. That guy is 2 feet tall. So for scale, that's let's see, that's a computer mouse next to him. So my desk is decorated with Transformers. Other people are just like there's a lot of culture around the office. But one of the cool things too is just that, we'll be sitting in the office and one guy will walk through and he goes, he'll walk up to people and goes, I bought a box of Magic cards. You want to do a draft pick in the cafeteria. So like 6 people would go and sit down, and for lunch, instead of going out eating for an hour and a half, we'll do a draft pick Magic game in the cafeteria, or things like that. And it's a lot of fun. Whereas, I've worked mostly at companies like Logitech or the major companies, and they've been a bit more, I don't want to say stodgy, but a little bit more. Well, there was one time at Logitech I did bring in Cards Against Humanity, and a lot of people had fun playing that till the VP of PR came up to us and asked us why we were laughing. It looked like a fun game, and could she play? And we're all like, oh no. I didn't want that. That was bad. So we actually had to play around in front of her, and we were picking like the most boring answers because, of course, if you guys have played, I don't need to let it. Yeah. Oh, we got some questions in the chat while I was gibbering at great length.
Yeah, I'll let you grab some if you see something interesting too.
Oh, let's see. It's Rainbow Six. I don't have an answer on. Well, I don't know if I answer on the Rainbow Six question, but Ep8 is he's a really cool dude. Actually, I will say one of my favorite players on Origin is amazing. I knew him when he was on TSM. Origin is honestly one of the nicest, sweetest guys around. He always takes time for his fans. He always tries to engage people, and he is he's a lot of fun. And that's the one thing about pro players too. A lot of pro players are kind of shy, nerdy people too, like all of us. So it's there. I've met very few jerks in the scene, and even people that are kind of known as standoffish and kind of put a scene air of being jerky out there, like Saint Vicious, for example. Absolutely incredibly nice dude that plays on the bad boy appearance of being a pro player. Really nice and sweet people. That's the esports scene is actually surprisingly positive on the inside. So anyways, I digress.
Great. Yeah. I will say actually that. Okay, I was just putting in chat. I will say that just real quick. I actually had the opportunity to. We interviewed Amazing last year, actually, when he was even on the Copenhagen Wolves before TSM, and he came across just a really, really cool dude. So it's good to know that it doesn't change over time.
Yeah, it's each pro player they're really really nice people. It's sometimes even like I'd say the toughest nut to crack was Dyrus is actually Dyrus is actually exceptionally nice. He's just extremely shy and reserved. But at PAX last year, I was standing outside. I was wearing a shirt. It was a Persona shirt. And he sees me, and then he goes, "Oh, you like that anime?" I was like, "Oh no, I like the game." And we just had a total geek out session in the middle of like Seattle on the street when people were like walking by and like taking photos of like him just standing there and just chatting. And it's like a lot of these guys are just super enthusiastic, and they're excited about the exact same things that all of us are. And it's kind of funny that just sometimes it's even the toughest nut to crack in terms of getting out there to talk. Like, you just got to find how to be a nerd and have fun with him. And yeah.
Yeah, I'll give a 30-second personal anecdote, and I do want to get to Baby Can's question. I will say, actually, on that note, I was at that PAX. I actually got to interview Dyrus right after TSM won, after defeating Cloud9 in the finals. So that was probably the most excited I have seen him, because this was after, Cloud9's, have been reigning over the LCS since they came in. So TSM finally got to get back on top, and that was because sometimes you'll just see him, and obviously he speaks in a lot of times. Sometimes he seems a little hard to reach, but he was really, really awesome for that interview, just because of the environment. So it was very cool. But I do want to get to Baby Cannon's question. She's asking if you'd consider incentivizing big streamers in some way to mentor smaller or mid-sized streamers to help them expand their viewer base. So we talked sometimes they'll do it, but they lose money by doing it. So just wondering if there's any way to give them some incentive to do that.
Yes, and there are ways that I would do that, and so in short, yes, I would consider incentivizing big streamers to mentor smaller or mid-sized streamers. I think it's critical. I think it's important to help the scene. I mean, it's without drawing a really weird metaphor. I don't want streaming to be. And I'm gonna pontificate in a really weird way here, but if you know a basic bit of biology, rainforests are really interesting places. There's a bunch of absolute gigantic trees, but when you get down to the ground level, there's almost no life at all there. And that's not exactly what I want. It's you have the biggest, and then you have some small trees trying to start up, and you have some weird vines that grow along the tree. But the rainforest is made up of really big trees. What I want to think about is streaming as actually, and not get a little weird, and this is the thing, is I do want to think about a global. We have a bunch of different environments. We have a bunch of different ecosystems. And yeah, there is going to be a place for the towering ones. But I also do want to find a way to help build ecosystems for streamers that are cooperative, and there's reasons for them to help other people, bring more people up, and that is actually one of my goals of the Zubu, to find a way to help the talent that knows what they're doing assist the talent that's coming in to do more. So
for sure. So that's good to know that it's at least on the radar. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's a good question, and I think it's a really good point, something that needs to be considered for sure.
I've always thought it's interesting in especially a lot of MOBAs, very team-based games. You have a lot of different people on the team. Some creative way for a streaming platform to develop a way where these teams can be streaming in a way that players get to see a little bit of everything. Just create an experience out of it. Which right now we kind of have that spectator view, that you'd get at the tournaments or whatever, but just on the smaller level of, like some upcoming team, something that might facilitate a group to do something unique and entertaining with the way they're, streaming their gameplay, or, the way they're creating an experience for their audience.
That is actually a really interesting thought to pursue, because the thing is right now a lot of the teams, each streamer is kind of their own island when it comes to their individual stream. We can use Cloud9 as an example. You'll see a Meteos and Sneaky duo queue an awful lot, and you'll see High pop in and stream a bit, and then the guys don't ever stream as a group in a cooperative single stream. And that is actually a really interesting thought, and I actually I think I like that idea. I think I have a path to go with that one.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I wonder if part of it is because when they're just doing, single or duo, it's just, a lot of time it's goofing around, it's, for the entertainment quality, but I think if they're doing it as 5, it might be that they're worried about maybe giving away some of how their internal team communication works to other teams if they were to watch, and maybe I'm off, but I feel like that might be a concern for them of doing something like that.
So I have seen multiple teams scrim. I have, what it is sharing a scrim would be something that would be very bad. Scrims are sacred. It's we actually had when I worked at Logitech, Cloud9 actually scrimmed in our office, or scrims in our office, and so I'd occasionally have to go in there to either retrieve something, drop off a prototype, or something like that, and there'd be a scrim going on there, and their communication during a scrim is very unique. It's the communication they have on stage is also much more businesslike. At the scrim, they tend to be a little bit more jocular and say some fairly crude things to both each other and the other players. But what it is I could see maybe not League of Legends being the right place for that, but games like something like Counter-Strike, you could have a whole team play together, because there are strategies that do get developed, but the strategies in Counter-Strike are, well, I'm speaking from an angle of not being totally immersed into the scene of Counter-Strike, because Counter-Strike, the competitive gameplay of Counter-Strike is far above my level to understand it as a plebeian. I still like watching it. But they could have fun and play, and they don't have to say, oh, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and set up for this weird meta comp that we're going for. They can play, they don't have to, because part of the scrim is not just what move and how they're going to communicate in something like a MOBA, but part of it is understanding how the meta works in a competitive play, and that's honestly where you see something like TSM get absolutely wrecked by Unicorn's Love at IEM San Jose, which I was there for, and I was watching with my then VP going, oh no, what is going on here? But that's because they had a secret meta thing that they were able to pull up through scrims and understand would work, and then tested it in front of live audience. No one will ever fall for it again, but when it comes to taking down TSM, you have to pull out the best tricks you have. So I would agree with your standpoint that something like League, where it's very tactical and very individual little things going on, and it's less less opportunity for reactive play. You have to more think about laning happening minutes ahead of time. Whereas CS:GO, you could probably have a team have fun and be a little bit more as a group stream, and play those 90-second to 215 long rounds. So
yeah, very cool. Alrighty, so we are actually running a little bit over time, but we will give one more opportunity. If anybody has any questions for Charles or for us or anything, please put them in chat now. We will absolutely be happy to get to them before we sign off. So we'll give a minute or two in case somebody has anything else they do want to ask. But yeah, I think that's, other than that, it's pretty much going to do it. I think there's some really good points you brought up, Charles. Definitely, always good to get, the perspective. We always, think things is kind of, outside, viewers. It's always good to get, the perspective of someone, who's dealing with it on a daily basis. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. It's been awesome, having you here and talking to you.
Indeed, and thank you. It was a pleasure chatting with you guys as well. Thank you guys for listening to me talk at great length. I think I like the sound of my own voice a little too much sometimes, but I think streaming is just the next step to the form of entertainment we're going to see in the future. I think we're going to see a lot more of real-time entertainment happening, and especially real-time competitive entertainment happening. I think esports is just the first step of it, but I also think esports will be one of the most successful steps of it. So I'm really glad to be where I'm at. I'm glad to be what I'm doing, and I can't wait to do even more awesome stuff.
Nice.
Definitely, yeah. It was fun having you on. I've do another show with some friends over at Theory Forge, and we have a bunch of different types of guests and stuff, and this is, I want to say, probably one of my first experiences with somebody, that's a social media social media specialist. So really interesting to get that side of it, somebody who's seeing the inner workings and trying to figure out what the community wants, and help provide that and help inform the people, that the brand and everything of what people are looking for. So it's an interesting it's that interesting middle ground, and that's something I've always enjoyed, being in the middle like that as well, kind of just being that in between players and games and developers. We kind of get that at 10 Ton Hammer. So it's kind of an interesting place to be, and makes for some interesting viewpoints. So I think you've provided a lot of good stuff for the viewers here, and hopefully everybody in the chat has had a great time here today. I know I've enjoyed the conversation, and look forward to, if you want to come back sometime, definitely let us know. If you guys have some events coming up in the future, just poke us and let us know, and we'll I'm sure we'll have plenty of topics that we can talk about. So, but that is, yep. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, sorry, I totally interrupted there. I was gonna say, definitely, it's I'm always down for that kind of stuff. It's actually, this is one of my favorite things to do. I like doing it. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's topics that really interest me. One of the things, I'm going to toot my own horn for a brief second on the social media. When I was handed the Logitech G social media, we had 35,000 followers, and when I left Logitech, I was at 900-ish thousand. So I did that in 18 months. So I am proud of what I can do on social media, and I have like a really weird diverse skill set that ended up making it so that I'm good at supporting a broad group of streamers do more with their stream, and it's worked out well. But I think I would be more than happy to do these again in the future, or anything else you guys want to do.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep that in mind. But thanks for coming. Good show. I want to say thanks to the audience for participating, jumping in. Sometimes it is hard to get into these. It's a little bit different format than, some typical streams, but you guys always have been great chiming in and having questions, so thanks for that. You guys kind of know the drill with us. If you enjoy the show, you can support 10 Ton Hammer, obviously. Jeremy and I both, the majority of our content comes on 10tonhammer.com, written content, so go check that out there. Lots of guides, interesting stuff, opinion articles, and stuff like that. Support us. Other than that, you should know where to find us. Replays here, replays on YouTube, and that's kind of it. But thanks you guys for coming. And did either one of you guys have any last thoughts or words before you wanted to go? Anything you got, Charles, that's coming up you might want to plug out there for Azubu?
Let's see. What would be the cool thing I can let slip? So keep an eye. One of the things that I'll be doing on the short term will be finding ways to help people become bigger quicker. That is always the big question: is how to get more people to watch a stream and get more people to get fans. So there's going to be a lot of incentives around that I'm going to be doing with social media, with our esports team, to drive more to that. But I'd say the biggest thing that I want to impart, and the thing that I'd like to stick on the most, is that streaming isn't easy. Streaming takes a lot of work. Streaming is not just playing a game. But if you do it right, you can have a lot of fun, get a lot of fans, and if you do it really right, you can make a ton of money being a hero to tens of thousands of people around the world, to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And I think anyone that has a skill and the desire to can do it, the desire to do it, can achieve it.
Very cool. All right, well, thanks again, and we will catch all you guys on the next episode, same time next week at 3 p.m. Eastern for 10 Ton Talks. We'll see you on Friday. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.